it's really a unified layer that supports everything else. And I think it lends to a bigger conversation too of how an individual consumes their content too, where it's not just bring your own meeting. It's how do you interact with that content that is also being presented. And I kind of see that as the future next layer of, number one, how do we bring everything together? Because I have been in an organization where you have half the people on Teams, half the people on Google, just on a Drive perspective, and then we also have Slack for communication.
I have
and
that too.
Danny still has ICQ. Okay.
I got to send this to all my Google Wave boards.
China gets in on the Sphere architecture craze. Epson has a new line of projectors and the hidden cost of supporting multiple UC platforms. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 771, recorded Friday, May 29th, 2026. People are the problem. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of the biggest news and stories in the AV and the IT world. The Sphere effect goes global. China's building its own version, and it's a lot cheaper. Google Beam just got a lot more useful, but do not cancel your budget meeting yet. And Epson drops 10 new projectors ahead of Infocom, and they've got 4K in smaller boxes than ever. Let's get into it. First up, the Sphere has become more than a venue. It's become a template. 2 new immersive LED dome venues are on their way in China, and they're being built at a fraction of the scale and cost of the original in Las Vegas. The first is called Tiangong Nova. It's going up in Shenzhen, a city of nearly 1 million people, about 90 miles west of Wuhan. It stands 46.5 meters tall and has a 54-meter diameter dome. That's roughly 1/7 the size of the Sphere in Las Vegas. The exterior is wrapped in a 7,500 square meter curved LED display. Second is planned for Shanghai. It's still in development, but it's coming. Here's why this matters to you. The Sphere costs more than $2 billion to build. That's not replicable in most markets. But what these Chinese projects suggest is a lower cost version of the same idea. Large format LED architecture built around immersive experiences at a price point that could actually scale. Google Beam has always been impressive, but it had one big limitation. It only worked between 2 people. That just changed, at least as an experiment. At Google I/O 2026, Google announced that Beam now supports group calls on both Zoom and Google Meet. Remote participants joining from standard laptops or phones are rendered life-size, arranged spatially around a virtual table. Spatial audio places each voice at the position of the person speaking, and it's automatic. No special configuration required on the remote side. The hardware behind this is the HP Dimension, a 65-inch light field display with 6 cameras. It runs roughly $24.99 US per installation. The Beam software license is separate, though. Google's own research claims a 50% stronger sense of social connection and a 21% improvement in remote participants' ability to contribute compared to standard grid-based video. This is clear, though. One thing is clear about it. What this is and is not. This is an experiment, not a product. No ship dates, no support SLAs, and Microsoft Teams and WebEx are still not yet included. Only Zoom and Meet get the 3D group rendering. Shifting to the display room, Epson has announced 10 new PowerLight and BrightLink projectors ahead of Infocom, and the headline is simple: 4K enhancement in smaller, more efficient packages. The lineup is built on Epson's 3-chip, 3 LCD technology. It covers standard throw, ultra short throw, and portable options. Models weigh in under 20 pounds for meeting spaces in classrooms. The BrightLink 870EI and 780EI ultra short throw interactive models push images up to 130 inches. They include annotation tools, touch functionality, and classroom grade audio. For larger installs, the PowerLight 870E, 875E, and 780E throw up to 180 inches. They support 360-degree installation, edge blending, and split-screen capability. The ultra-portable L Series rounds out the lineup, including models that can produce images up to 500 images. Availability starts this summer and runs through late 2026. If you're speccing spaces right now, this is a lineup worth a closer look. Staying in the Infocom preview lane, Plexus AV is bringing something significant to Las Vegas. They are debuting the PAVN 6S. This is what that matters. It is an uncompressed IPMX and SMPTE ST2110 transceiver designed for environments where broadcast and pro AV are starting to overlap. And that's a lot. Here's the practical rundown. The unit bridges traditional SDI infrastructure with IP-based AV systems. It supports uncompressed quality up to 4K 60 with approximately 18 gigabits per second of throughput. It includes PTP to Genlock capabilities, letting SDI outputs sync directly to IP-based timing. Now, for redundancy, it supports SMPTE ST2022-7, also hitless failover across independent network paths. It also handles Dante and AES-67 audio transport. Now, who is this for? Broadcast studios, stadiums, house of worship, higher education, government command centers, anywhere you're running hybrid SDI and IP infrastructure, and you need the two worlds to talk to each other without compromising signal integrity. Now, Plexus AV will also participate in interoperability demonstrations with the Ames Alliance on the IP Showcase booth. If that's your world, this is a booth to put on your Infocom floor map. Finally, a consolidation story out of Europe. Yeah, it's M&A, but we're going to have more of those. A Dutch headquartered AV integrator with offices in the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, and the UK has acquired Yielder from IT and communications provider Yielder Group. The deal closed on May 21st. Here's the strategic read. Yielder Group is sharpening its focus on IT and communications and divesting AV activities that don't fit that core. AVX is doing the opposite, expanding its AV and experience business, particularly in the eastern Netherlands, where it wanted a stronger presence. The result? AVX now employs around 300 professionals across 7 offices, and they pick up Yielder's established relationships in some niche verticals. That includes funeral and wedding markets, as well as others. This is the kind of consolidation that's been reshaping the European integrator landscape for years. As a user, it's also worth knowing who's acquiring whom, because your integrator partner today will probably look different a year from now. That is your AV news for the week. Stick around. Our roundtable experts tackle the hidden cost of supporting multiple UC platforms and asking the question, is digital signage dead as we know it? That conversation is next. This is AV Week. All right, welcome back. And now we bring in our fantastic roundtable with us to discuss a couple of articles here. First and foremost, Erica Carroll. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Tim. Happy to be here.
Good to see you. Also with us is my good friend, Mr. Brock McGinnis.
Hello, Tim. Always glad to be back.
Good to see you. And last but not least, Danny Hayasaka. Welcome, sir.
What's up, and happy birthday.
Well, thank you, sir. It is technically the anniversary of my birth on the day that we are recording this, May 29th. The day that you're going to get this, it's no longer my birthday, so just don't. First story from Telecom Reseller. Most organizations didn't set out to run 3 or 4 or 10 unified communication platforms, but it happened. One department needed a specific tool, an acquisition brought in another system, a new vendor relationship added 1 or 2 or 5 more. The result is what one analyst calls, quote unquote, death by 1,000 cuts, operational inefficiency that compounds quietly over time, with teams navigating disconnected systems, inconsistent workflows, and IT resources divided between maintaining fragmented environments instead of improving them. If you don't get the picture here, this analyst really doesn't like the fact that they're doing this. For IT and AV managers, the real cost isn't the license fees, it's the support burden, which is what we're going to get into. training overhead, the help desk tickets, and the users who simply stop using the tools correctly because they can't keep track of which platform does what. Mr. McGinnis, as you are talking with your fantastic clients, and you walk in, and one of the first things, I know you, one of the first things, obviously, what are you trying to achieve? Like, what are we trying to do here? But as you dig into that, and you start uncovering several rocks of 4 or 5 or 10 UC platforms, how do you navigate that with them and, I guess, gently encourage them to pick 1 or 2 or 3? Or do you just let them, like, this is what you have? Okay, fine, we're going to design a system for that.
It tends to be people that are the problem, not the platforms. So people get attached to whatever they like or whatever they grew up with. If you happen to be, for example, a major accounting firm and Google is your client, you might use Meet. And you may hate it, but Google is your client. So you're going to use that. I have a real issue with it. I don't care if people standardize on Teams or they standardize on Zoom. As long as it's one or the other, we can equip the user to communicate on any platform they want. But an enterprise, to operate efficiently, really needs to be on a single platform so that they can use the entire ecosystem properly. And both Teams and Zoom have built out great toolkits and agentic stuff that keeps adding to the list. And if you're in a multi-platform environment, you can't leverage any of that. So it's frustrating. But we'll be talking to somebody in IT and they'll go, but the CFO, ... or but the CIO, the CEO. That's who's still in love with this other platform. It's a conundrum, and I'm not sure we're ever going to fix it. And as a service provider in the AV industry, we're going to try and help people get whatever they want.
Even if it's inefficient and silly.
We have the same issues at our houses, right? This is the human condition, where people fall in love with workflows. Don't try and train a college AV person on a new DSP platform if they've been using the same one for 10 years and are really comfortable with it. You come from that world, Tim, and we're a programmer in that world, and the resistance to change is far greater than a simple vendor service provider such as ourselves can overcome.
Erica, that's actually where I wanted to head with you, is when you're talking to either clients or, whether it's an IT folks or an AV decision maker, even in the integration community, educating folks on what A does versus what B does versus what C does. How do you kind of go in and consolidate all of them together, and then say, okay, we need to make sure that you are choosing the right one, or do you just, like Brock said, let them have whichever ones they want, and we will design and train and educate around the 3 or 4 or 10 that you choose?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think it's the latter, where everybody does have their own decisions, and my recommendations can only go so far. And I can liken this to, oddly enough, my RV community, where we winter in the Florida, we winter in Florida. They have all of these disparate systems where we have one guy that does the AV, one guy that does the IT, one guy, like literally for our entire community. And then all of these individual groups or departments have their different payment processing systems. It's redundant because an individual has chosen it because it's what they're used to. And there hasn't been anybody to review all of the systems that we have in play at one time just to say we have all of these redundancies, maybe we should scale back, or pick a completely different provider that houses a lot of these different systems all in one. And sometimes that could be a solutions provider or it could be a software provider to sort of consolidate all of that. But ultimately, it's down to the individuals who are going to be utilizing those devices or those systems on a day-to-day basis, because you look at somebody to say, hey, go find the solution for this and bring me the recommendation, and everybody's going to bring you back a different recommendation.
Danny, I'll drop with you on this. How do you get folks to kind of play nice together when they're all wanting to use different platforms?
That's actually one of the primary reasons why I went over to Mago. So after running the Customer Experience Center for a few years, the same questions kept coming up from customers, because we were showing them single platform rooms like Teams rooms or Zoom rooms, and every single customer, without fail, asked the same two questions. Well, how do I join other meeting platforms from this room? Or how do I share content easily from this room? And so after a lot of searching and setting up different devices across multiple brands and solutions, and everyone has their flavor, and if everything is set up perfectly and configured right and everyone's on the right network, everything's fantastic. But as we've all been saying, human beings unfortunately aren't perfect, and human beings have a tendency to want to do what they want to do when they're going to do it, right? And so we are actually working with several customers now. One of them came to us because they had Cisco rooms, Teams rooms, and Zoom rooms all across their campus. So they have 3 different platforms that they're running. And of course, there's challenges in how do I join this meeting from this room, and how do I join that meeting platform from this room. And so one of the reasons that they've come to someone like Mago is that we don't care what the meeting platform is, and we don't care what the hardware is, because that's also one of the challenges that we encounter with customers. And you were talking about the higher level, C-level folks, and we actually are working with the client right now, a large client, because they have standardized on Teams, but you have the C-level folks that no, we like Zoom. So when they walk into the meeting room needs to be able to support all of them seamlessly. They need to be able to walk in, touch join, whether it's Teams or Zoom is irrelevant. It needs to just work. And so that's what Mago does. And that's why like I said, I've come over, because after 27 years, I've seen meeting room platforms rise and fall, and I've seen hardware vendors rise and fall. And so how do we maintain consistency despite the ebbs and flows of brands or platforms and hardware? And that's where I see Mago fitting in, regardless of what meeting platform you want to join. If you want to join Teams, Zoom, WebEx, Google Meet, or I think like 16 other different platforms that we support, you can with Mago. Whether you have certified, non-certified hardware, Windows environment, Android environment, you can with Mago. Again, Mago comes in, it's a software layer, and it connects people to whatever meeting platform they want with whatever hardware they want. And I think that's the actual future of meeting rooms is that software layer that connects people despite or regardless of the meeting platform that they want. And then, of course, to help IT leaders, there's an admin console that helps you manage all those rooms. So that's the other part of it, because we're talking about all these disparate platforms and how do you manage them, because Zoom has their platform to manage, and then Teams has theirs, and everyone has their own different thing. Well, with Mago, you manage everything right from the single admin console. So I think it's a much cleaner, more efficient, better way. And again, maybe today Teams is the flavor of the month or whatever, but maybe tomorrow it's a different version. Because I know, like in Europe, they're trying to kick Teams and Zoom out of there. They're looking at, like in France, they got Visio.
Attempting to, yes. They're
But it doesn't negate the fact that they still need to join Teams or Zoom meetings or Google Meet meetings. And so that's where solutions like Mago come in, because we can sit there as that layer, and whether they standardize on Visio, they can still join Teams, Zoom, Google Meet, or whatever other meeting platform they want. So I think that's the answer, is finding a solution like Mago that can help them basically achieve all the things that they want without having multiple different platforms to manage and support.
I did not intend for this to be a Mago commercial, but that is
sorry.
that's quite all right. I honestly didn't. I knew that you guys worked with a bunch of them. I didn't realize how many. But here's a follow-up question to you that you're not going to get every sale. So how do you do you just say, okay, good luck to you, or do you can you help them if there is 15 different vendors? Without you.
Yeah. So, and specifically in the meeting, you can't help individuals, right? So everyone has their laptop, and whatever they're doing on their desktop is what they're doing on their desktop. Whether it's Teams, Zoom. I mean, I have WhatsApp, I have Teams, I have Zoom, I have WebEx, I have Google Chat, I have so many different communications platforms running on my laptop because that's the reality of the world that I live in today. It's not a single platform world. I communicate across the globe with organizations from all over. So I have the ability and need the ability to use all of them. And so it's a matter of having your IT team understand that and support it and not put all these blocks or restrictions as, there's a lot of organizations, from my YouTube channel, I get people that reach out and they tell me that, oh, we can't download this, or we can't download that, or we can't do this on our computer, or our USB ports are locked down. We can't use USB. I'm like, well, when IT starts locking everything down, then you're hindering and actually preventing productivity because your people can't work if you have them too locked down, right? So there needs to be a consensus. There needs to be an understanding of how your team members actually work and accommodate it. Let them do it.
So it's interesting that you're talking about how there's this, it's really a unified layer that supports everything else. And I think it lends to a bigger conversation too of how an individual consumes their content too, where it's not just bring your own meeting. It's how do you interact with that content that is also being presented. And I kind of see that as the future next layer of, number one, how do we bring everything together? Because I have been in an organization where you have half the people on Teams, half the people on Google, just on a Drive perspective, and then we also have Slack for communication.
I have that too.
It doesn't make sense, but it's got to be.
Danny still has ICQ. Okay,
but it's meeting people where they're at.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be key. Yeah.
Last topic here, we're gonna beat up on digital signage. This was the headline: digital signage is dead as we know it. My buddy John, God love him, John Sedgwick from Blue Touch Paper made that announcement at DSS. That is something that he said earlier this month, actually, in Munich. He was being direct about something that our industry has been dancing around. What he did was he drew a sharp parallel between digital signage and the collaboration software platform. Again, we're talking about collaboration software. According to John, a fragmented ecosystem of niche players eventually is going to be replaced by dominant platform providers, with Microsoft leading that consolidation. John is very bullish on the Microsoft, the MDEP program. He argued that the same horizontal shift is now underway in signage, driven not by preference, but by security concerns, specifically end-of-life anxiety around Android 13 and earlier versions running on digital signage hardware. If you have not listened to AVWeek from last week, stop this and go back to listen to that one, because that's exactly what we talked about. Our friends over at AV User Group brought this very question up to manufacturers at a recent meeting over in London. It is a little bit of a doom and gloom, but go listen to it because really smart people talked about it better than I could. According to John, the answer being positioned is MDEP, Microsoft Device Ecosystem Platform, which promises enterprise-grade security, consistent lifecycle management, and long-term update support for signage devices. Tim's problem, this is Tim's opinion, and I'll get into it to you guys. Yes, it promises all that. All you have to do is sell your soul to Microsoft. that is Tim's editorial on that. Erica, first question to you. Is security enough of a concern, whether it's digital signage or it's UC devices or whatever it is, that we need to put all of our eggs as it were, in one security basket, in this case, MDEP?
I think it will be. I don't think that we're there yet.
I'm out.
So I think networks are so vulnerable. Why not make sure that it is absolutely secured by a system that everybody trusts, right? And
That's a big, hang on.
it's a big statement. I know. But this lens from the previous conversation we were having into this one about that standardization of, even UC devices in our organizations. This is a more standardization conversation about how do you make sure that everything is secure. If you're already embedded in the Microsoft ecosystem, then it's a natural progression. But not everybody wants that. And that's the world that we're in right now.
Not everybody wants that.
And for those people, security will continue to be an issue.
Interesting. All right. Danny, same question. Should we put all of our security eggs in one basket?
Yeah, put them in Mago's basket. No, so
I'm going to send you an invoice, brother.
yeah. No, so it's a challenge depending on who you're talking to. Well, it's a challenge for everybody, but it's a challenge depending on the organization. So when you talk to customers come in all shapes and sizes, and I know there's a tendency to focus on what the enterprise wants, but if you look at the United States of America, there are over 30 million SMBs. And so those folks to give two hoots about what Microsoft thinks or wants you to do, because the budget that they have, the resources that they have, don't support or can't support what Microsoft wants them to do. So they're going to continue to do other things. They're going to look. I mean, that's the whole reason why we have so many different devices, why we have so many different options, is because the world isn't run by a single brand or platform. And enterprises, while they might have the finances, the resources to support that, the teams to support that, the majority of SMBs across the world, mid-market, they just don't. And so they're going to do something different. And despite what Microsoft wants them to do, it's not in the cards for the majority of these other businesses. And I know, like I said, these enterprise make up a lot of the revenue that Microsoft generates, but there's all this other business that's out there that doesn't even know what Microsoft's capabilities are, because they're just not in that world. They're in a completely different world.
Brock, Sidgwick's argument is that signage is following the same consolidation path as collaboration. And Microsoft is positioning itself to own the space just the way they do room platforms. I'm asking this a different way. Does that concern you? Does that excite you? Or does that do both?
It certainly doesn't excite me. And the concern to me is that in my kind of lengthy business relationship with Microsoft, I have never found them customer oriented. They're not concerned about the user, about our comfort, about our efficiency, about our reliability. I'm a Mac guy, and I've been a Mac guy since 1985. And I've had to have Windows machines on my desk to be able to run some of the software that our industry uses. Well, I can never turn on a Windows machine without having to update it. Mac at least gives me, and the iOS ecosystem at least gives me the ability to schedule my emergency updates. But Microsoft has kept me waiting all my life. And the further that they have, tentacles into everything that we do, as humans, but in business, the more it concerns me, because it used to be that guy who had the unfortunate thing with his wife and the glasses and all that, but now it is a faceless oligarchy, I guess, or and so MDEP is solving some problems. And getting it's a standard, I think, that was was developed to help people solve problems that they're having. That's good. But making us all conform, click those heels, and that's not Kansas where you end up.
Nope. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Erica Carroll, thank you, ma'am. How do people connect with you?
You can find me in all the social places, especially LinkedIn at the Erica Carroll or theericacarroll.com. We'll take you straight there.
And are you heading to InfoComm?
I am. And the one place I'll be for sure is the Women's Breakfast. Other than that, I'll be tooling around the show and at some of the Reddit commercial AV community events.
Very cool. Yeah, it's a very cool community. Mr. McGinnis, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you?
They can connect with me at InfoComm. For personal reasons, was unable to attend the last few years. I'm excited about being back there and have lots on the go. The Professional Audiovisual Society of Canada has an event on Tuesday night on the Strip. It's called PAVC and Friends, so it's not exclusive to our members. And you can read about that on the social, and then find me on LinkedIn.
You should definitely make a point of being there. I got to hang out with that group at ISC, and a whole lot of fun. So yeah, check them out.
It'll be different after 9 o'clock at night at a bar on the Strip, but
there a bar in Vegas that opened past 9 o'clock. That doesn't sound very likely.
Yeah, unlikely.
Danny Hayasaka, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you or Mago?
They can connect with me anywhere. Just punch in Danny Hayasaka. You're going to find me on all the social media platforms, YouTube channel, or you can go to mago.io if you want to learn more. And yes, we are going to be at InfoComm. We're going to be at the NEAT booth, Como booth, the Aver booth, and the Insta360 booth. If you want to see a live demo of Mago.
I will say this really quickly. I got a chance to see the Insta360. They have a video bar. Very impressive. I got to see it at NAB. Very, very impressive. I saw the front end. I did not get to see the far end, and so that's one thing I'm trying to hook up with those folks to see kind of what it looks like on the other end. But yeah, very, very impressive.
I'll be getting one here and setting it up with all the other video bars that I have.
Well, then
here.
I'll call you and we'll schedule a video call. Thank you guys so much. My name is Tim Albright. Do not follow me anywhere, but go by the website if you would please, AVNation.tv. It's AVNation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others, including an awful lot of InfoComm previews. My poor editor, Mr. Mitchell, he has been working his fingers to the bone. You can check that out. InfoComm, of course, is the 17th or the 19th. You can check out that stuff at avnation.tv/IC26. Now, a couple things. We are doing our AVNation party called AVNation Access. It's June 17th from 4 to 6 p.m. I mentioned this last week. Here's what I'm going to talk about for a second, as long as I can get through it. I wrote a book. It's crazy, but I wrote a book. It's called Building on Ashes. And that's it right there. Physical copy. And that's still kind of crazy to me.
I bought it this week.
Brock bought it this week.
We did too.
Erica did too.
I'll buy it today.
Danny's going to buy it. Fantastic. I sold 3 copies plus mine. There's 4. It is a book about overcoming failure. I've had plenty of them, so it's full of that. Well, my dear friend Brad Hensey came up with a suggestion that, at least to me, 100% fits me and my personality. I am not doing a book signing. I'm not selling books at InfoComm. Let me be very clear about that. I'll sign your book. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. I am doing a reverse book signing. So here's what that means. I am inviting anybody who has ever had any connection to AVNation. If you've ever been on an AVNation podcast, if you've ever listened to an AVNation podcast, if you've read our articles, if you have been impacted by what we have done for the last 15 years, I want you to come sign my copy of my book.
You got it.
My copy of my book. So you, Brock, Erica, Danny, maybe Chris Netto, who knows, is invited to AVNation Access again, June 17th from 4 to 6 p.m. It's over in the West Hall. There is not a show floor, but they're still using the West Hall for a bunch of meetings. West Hall, room W322. So go sign up at avnation.tv/IC26. But just go by the website in general, if you would, please. AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.